It's the last Friday of the month of September in the year 2025. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning News. And this is the first bulletin of the day on TV3. This bulletin is coming to you live from the news app here at Adesawe Kanda. We are live on Facebook. It's TV3 Ghana and on DSTV channel 279. My name is Josh Queen. Top of the stories is that. President John Dramani Mahama addressing the UN calls for a reset of the global financial system and condemns the war in Gaza. A health expert warns of dangerous levels of heavy metals in Ghana's farm produce, raising concerns over food safety. And in business, a financial economist cautions against rushing to lower policy rates despite calls from the Food and Beverages Association. Well, we have details of these stories and many more coming up in the next 20 minutes if you spend your time with me. You can also get interactive with us. We're live on Facebook. It's TV3 Ghana. Let's begin from the UN General Assembly. As President John Dramani Mahama is demanding not only a reform of the Security Council, but also a reset of the global financial architecture, which is currently rigged against Africa. Addressing the 80th United Nations General Assembly in New York, USA, he added that the slave trade must be recognized as the greatest crime against humanity. Take a listen.
President Mahama, in his first address to the United Nations General Assembly since his return to power after 8 years, spoke about the improvement in Ghana's economy.
In just 8 months, we have achieved significant reduction in inflation from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in August 2025, restoring price stability for our citizens. Additionally, our currency, the Ghana cedi, has appreciated considerably against other currencies, with Bloomberg reporting it as the best performing currency in the world at one point.
He reiterated calls for reparation for the slave trade.
Slave trade must be recognized as the greatest crime against humanity. As the African champion on reparations, Ghana intends to introduce a motion in this August body to that effect. More than 12.5 million Africans were forcibly taken against their will and transported to create wealth for the powerful Western nations. We must demand reparations for the enslavement of our people and the colonization of our land that resulted in the theft of our natural resources, as well as the looting of artifacts and other items of cultural heritage that have yet to be returned in total.
On the ongoing war in Gaza, President Mahama called for an end to the conflict and the need for a two-state solution.
Innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop.
He condemned the decision to deny visas to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and his delegation. President Mahama further renewed Africa's call for permanent representation on the United Nations Security Council.
Madam President, the UN Founding Charter is outdated when it comes to representation in this August Assembly. The most powerful post-World War II nations are still being rewarded with an almost totalitarian guardianship over the rest of the world. a continent as large as Africa, with its numerous UN member states, would have at least one permanent seat on the Security Council.
Well, you can have access to this full speech when you go onto our website. It's 3news.com. And away from the UN General Assembly, Acting Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni says he will run an open administration and deepen collaboration between the bench and the bar if approved as Chief Justice. He made these pronouncements when leadership of the Ghana Law Society paid a courtesy call on him in Accra.
President John Dramani Mahama on Tuesday, September 23, nominated Justice Paul Bafo-Boni as Chief Justice to succeed former Chief Justice Gertrude Esaba Tokonu. Justice Bafo-Boni has been serving as Acting Chief Justice since April 2025, following the suspension of Justice Tokonu. During a courtesy call to congratulate him, the Ghana Law Society praised his leadership, describing his stewardship at the helm of Ghana's judiciary as exemplary. The professional body was also hopeful that Parliament will confirm his nomination when it resumes.
Our coming here is simply to congratulate you and to say that ever since you took over the race of the judiciary, we've seen some positives. In the sense that we've noticed how the judiciary is beginning to assert itself and, as it were, showing how independent it can be. And that is what Ghanaians have been craving for. Your sterling leadership is giving hope to Ghanaians. And with the fact that you are also being nominated to continue, we are aware that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
In his first public statement since being nominated, Justice Bafo-Boni pledged to run an open and inclusive administration.
I'm going to run a very open administration. The judiciary, the bench needs the bar. And so we are excited that you have also pledged to support the judiciary and its intendments. And then at the end of the day, it is justice for the people that we all seek after.
However, as concerns could be raised that the Law Society's visit could influence a case currently before the courts, one in which the Society is itself a party and challenging the Ghana Bar Association, Supreme Court Judge Justice Kot Puamang stressed that the courtesy call will in no way prejudge proceedings.
There are other matters which have come to our attention. There's a suit that has been filed by some, I think, 3 plaintiffs. That suit is seeking broader issues of interpretation of the Constitution. And I want, because the media is here, to make it clear that the interaction here is in no way intended to prejudice those broader issues that are being raised in that suit. Your visit is within a different context.
Well, let's continue to stay on issues relating to law. Acting Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni has acknowledged the Ghana Law Society's bid for official recognition as a licensed association, even as the Supreme Court considers a case challenging the long-standing dominance of the Ghana Bar Association in representing the country's lawyers. He described the Law Society's quest for recognition as a step in the right direction.
The Ghana Law Society, together with private practitioners and Member of Parliament Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo, is urging the Supreme Court to rule that references to the Bar Association in the Constitution should not apply exclusively to the Ghana Bar Association, but extend to all professional lawyer groups. Responding to the Society's push for official recognition, Acting Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni described the move as a step in the right direction.
The bench is not particularly interested in an association A or association B. Practicing lawyers must be in good standing. And as far as good standing is concerned, to us, it means you must have a certificate from the GLC. What I will implore you to do, and what you have promised to do, is to pursue the acquisition of your license from the GLC, and then the bench will definitely have to give you audience.
A founding member of the association, Abraham Amaliba, stressed that the group is not seeking to cause division, but contribute meaningfully to the improvement of Ghana's judiciary.
When we fully come into being, this association will help your administration to ensure that the judiciary in this country takes its rightful place. Ghana Law Society is not coming to be a troublemaker, but rather to complement what the judiciary has been doing already.
For the General Secretary of the Ghana Law Society, Samuel Atukwe, the association intends to support the administration of justice while complementing the efforts of the Ghana Bar Association.
Ghana Law Society is also another organization of lawyers that has come up. As a country, we should accept it and support it to grow. Our objectives does not, spell out that we are challenging them. The objective that they have is the same objective that we also have. And the objective is to support the administration of justice in this country, support the judiciary, and support our democracy. That is the same as the Ghana Bar. So we are helping the institutions. I mean, it's a complement. We have well over, I'm sure, 7,000 lawyers. And all 7,000 lawyers, one association cannot administer all of them.
Well, if you just tuned in, you're watching The Morning News, the first bulletin of the day on TV3 with me, George Queenan. Away from legal issues, the discovery of toxic heavy metals in food produce from parts of Ghana has sparked concerns. A recent report reveals the presence of arsenic, lead, mercury and cadmium in crops from farms partially affected by illegal mining activities, known as galamsey.
These heavy metals pose serious health risks and financial burdens for affected communities. Samples taken from various regions showed high levels of contamination in fruits, vegetables, fish and tubers in a recent report. Experts say the toxins, undetectable to the naked eye, can accumulate in the body over time, leading to long-term health complications. Public health specialist Dr. Frank Dodu explained the dangers of consuming food contaminated with arsenic, lead, mercury, and cadmium.
Most of the organs that are known to suffer from these heavy metals are the kidneys, and then the liver. Then, to some extent, the lungs may also be affected, and then the heart muscles. You may have scanty quantities in the food which may not be harmful to the body, but there are thresholds that we shouldn't exceed. And that is what standardization is supposed to help us to identify. So a lot of regulation is required over here. If we can empower the Food and Drugs Authority so much such that they'll be able to do the market sweeps, to be able to tell which food items are not wholesome on the market, so we can, rid our market of them. That would be very helpful to us.
Some market women say they source their produce from areas not affected by polluted water bodies.
Our cassava is harvested from areas without galamsey. I don't know where the fish comes from. We gather our consumer from forests and cocoa farms, and never from sites affected with illegal mining. Dr. Dodo stressed the need for stronger regulation to prevent the spread of contaminated farm produce.
Yes, there is cause for concern, because then again, if we get all of these pollutants into our system, it's very difficult to use our health systems to manage all of them. Do we have the resources well enough to be able to cater for people? How many of us are able to undergo dialysis? A stronger opportunity is to educate our folks, kinsmen, that we may not have seen the effects yet, so we think there is a way out, but if it hits us, it will just blow up in our faces.
With growing concerns over galamsey and its impact on food safety, the question remains, what lies ahead for Ghana's agricultural future?
And now the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, has hosted a seminar series on the review of Ghana's natural resources management regime, bringing together policy experts and stakeholders to discuss strategies for protecting Ghana's natural resources. The series, among others, seeks to draw attention to spark debate on the challenges posed by Ghana's legal regime for natural resource extraction.
The Institute of Economic Affairs launched a seminar series themed Ghana Beyond the 17th IMF, Salvation and All Natural Resources. The debate also focused on the natural resource extraction and petroleum exploration, as well as how appropriate laws could be amended to ensure maximum economic benefits and environmental protection. Speakers also raised concerns about the country's repeated return to the International Monetary Fund, urging government to pursue homegrown solutions that strengthen fiscal discipline and reduce dependency. Keynote speaker at the event, Professor Mike Okwe, stated the importance of this roundtable discussion towards sustaining natural resources and avoiding the dependency on IMF.
We are wallowing in poverty, not by any particular regime's fault, but by the totality of our circumstances. And like we have just said, for 17 times, we've had to go to the IMF in order to have what we call temporary relief. But can we go on forever in this way? That is the real theme of this particular series. 17 times, every regime, military regimes, NDC, MPP, NDC, whoever have been there. So now, as a people and together, what shall we do? What shall we employ? What shall we apply so that we won't go again? And this is the essence of the exercise. And we say that we believe that salvation lies in our natural resources. We have got gold, diamond, bauxite, manganese, timber, lithium, oil, and all these things. Can we not work them to our advantage? This needs a national discussion, and the IEA has undertaken to lead in the process, as it has done on many occasions, so that we talk about Ghana beyond the 17th IMF.
The IEA says the dialogue is part of its ongoing efforts to shape policy direction and support initiatives aimed at building a more resilient Ghanaian economy, and will be hosted every 2 weeks until the end of the year to ensure Ghana becomes a prosperous country.
Well, in more news this morning, challenges facing Ghana's maritime institutions remain a major concern. During a working visit by Deputy Minister of Transport, Dorcas Afo-Tofe, key stakeholders raised critical issues affecting the sector.
As part of efforts to strengthen maritime infrastructure, the Deputy Minister toured the Regional Maritime University, Tema Shipyard and Dry Dock, and the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. CEO of PSC Tema Shipyard, Usman Suleimana, appealed to government to fulfill a promise in the National Manifesto by releasing funds to revamp the shipyard, estimated to cost over $50 million.
When I took over office in February, the place was like a graveyard. We were welcomed by reptiles. What was the biggest challenge is that the shipyard was engulfed with reputational problems. But when we took over power, we have been able to some sort of contact the major clients in our books, and majority of them come from Nigeria. But we now want to leverage on the opportunity that is available at shipyard. We asking government of support. Maybe if we can leverage on the opportunities in terms of the infrastructure fund. Because if we want to say we want to do it on our own way, it will take time.
Director General of GPHA, Brigadier General Paul Seidu Tanya Kolono, highlighted infrastructural gaps.
We are of the view that by the end of the year, the cost of doing business will reduce so as to make us more competitive. Normally, the demurrage charges, we don't benefit. Custom doesn't benefit. It goes to the shipping lines. Taxes on transit goods is being reviewed. So at the appropriate time, I'm sure it will be clear. COVID-19 levy and other things, all this put together, it doesn't make us competitive as compared to Lomé and then Abidjan. With the rollout of the 24-hour economy, we need an enlightening, which we have, but
because of the procurement processes, it takes a while. We still have certain challenges that has to be resolved in order to make our business very, very easy and then fast.
Deputy Minister Afotofi acknowledged the concerns and pledged to advocate for government support.
As a deputy minister, I'm going to, of course, go back to my minister and we'll both sit and see how best we can support them with the necessary help that they need to be able to bring back the glory of this place, because from 1970 when this place was commissioned, nothing has been done. And we can all tell from the opportunities here, it would generate income for the state. It would also help in job creation for our youth, because currently our youth are suffering.
Her visit forms part of government's broader agenda to enhance maritime operations and drive sector growth.
Well, that's how we end the morning news. For more news updates, just log on to our website, it's 3news.com. Good morning.
Of the show, so between clock, make sure you make a date with us. Rocky Dawuni, always a trailblazer when it comes to reggae or roots rock reggae and all things liberation. What a saying thing, Rastafari. Good morning to all of you. What a guan. And a lot of things have been happening.
Yeah.
The president has been talking big just in front of the world leader at the General Assembly. And just about 30 minutes ago, I just listened to a 25-minute speech. It was awesome.
Yes.
Very bold, courageous, thought-provoking. In other spheres, some synonyms like controversial could be used as well. But for a world leader, I think he just, hit the nail right on the head, so to speak. He talked about everything, resources, us not adding value because the West just comes to pillage us. He talks about slave trade. He also talks about the Palestinian conflict, the ravaging of Gaza to the ground, so to speak, and the world leaders looking on. And then issues about gender inequality and issues of migration, which are always very critical. Talked about race as well. And I think that President John Dramani Mahama just did everything right.
And that beautiful blend regarding the comment on women and children, bringing in the first female president of the country, vice president, yes, and also his daughter, 18 years, and hoping that in the kind of world that we're looking forward to, it will be good for the 18-year-old daughter going into the future.
That speech was just, I didn't catch it live, but just 30 minutes ago I watched it. It was 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I have to say that it's
I was driving at the time he delivered it, so I tuned in and I listened. And it seemed, I really enjoyed it so much that when it ended, I was like, is that all? So I got home and I went back.
It was very long, but at the same time so short.
Yeah, so I went back and I watched it again, and I actually realized that I had only just missed like some 3-4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Yeah, but it still felt
as if you needed
very
more.
tight. Yes, exactly. But it was amazing. I mean, yesterday I had posted that it was a very great speech, and a very experienced diplomat actually called me and said that, hey, am I sure the speech is good? I said, oh, no, you don't worry, calm down. I just sent him the text. I sent him the text. He read it. Then he called again and said that it's amazing, the words, but he just wants to watch the delivery.
Yeah.
So he went back to watch the delivery and he says, it's just right up there. I mean, in terms of the content.
The president has a cold, but he was able to master everything else by way of the confidence on that podium to be able to address it.
And delivered it in a way as if it was coming from his head. He found a way of, he found a way of managing it.
And I mean, for the conversation with the diplomat, the point about it which excites me is the point he makes about how this is what Ghana represents. I mean, if you look at back of the days of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana, which even though we have the non-aligned movement, we've never shied away from expressing our opinion on global matters. I mean, over the period, we've turned our non-aligned movement into more or less like a silent diplomacy where we are careful about the things we are saying. But I mean, the West, they don't really care much about us anyways. I mean, whatever they will do to us, they are going to do it anyways. It only makes sense that we make our voices heard where it matters the most. And that is exactly what he did yesterday in that speech, speaking loud and clear on the key global topical issues, weaving it in a manner that is like a flowing story that is very... Guys, if you don't watch it, just go and watch it.
I mean, if you read in between the lines, he subtly criticized them. Like, you know what is right by...
I think it was very... I think it went guns blazing.
You know the UN headquarters is in New York. And you're in Donald Trump's country. And you go to tell him that...
The Palestinian president, you refuse to give him a visa.
Ostrich alongside the other world leaders to the atrocities being committed by Israel just close by neighbor Gaza or Palestine, etc. And then you're also saying that they receive refugees from Ukraine but don't want to receive same from other parts of the world. And he says and makes that reference to the global south. And then clearly says that for those who have the right sort of intelligence, the right sort of skills, who then get to migrate to the Western world, get well accepted. But for others, they are not well accepted just because they are deemed to be refugees or migrants, etc. That I think that is part of the inequalities that he talked about.
Especially because
he mentioned about AI, all the things that are happening.
Yeah, on the immigration point, immigration is a big deal in the US. In fact, Donald Trump basically rode onto power the first time and even the second time with the aim of getting out illegal immigrants and all those things. And he makes the point that, well, migration is not a problem really. And he talks about Kofi Annan and other illustrious Ghanaians who are doing so well in the US and in other countries to make the point that they are not criminal. They are individuals who come in and do so well and contribute to the economy. So it's not fair to treat everyone with that broad brush as though immigrants are criminals and they are just coming to
I mean, it was a great reminder to tell the US and other global leaders that these people contribute massively. Even if you check the US statistics, I mean, immigrants have helped to build the United States of America. And so don't now turn around and tell us that all these people coming to your country are destroying your country, because they are really building. And I love how he actually picked really prominent Ghanaians who are in other countries, US and other parts of the world, doing great things, just to emphasize his points that immigrants are not all bad people. But the bit about the criticism I was talking about earlier was the recognizing Palestine as a state, just like Israel, and that two-state conversation, that they've had. And I'm sure you're aware that 4 out of the 5 permanent members have already recognized Palestine as a state of its own, and so that should be the solution. And so the point he was making was that we already know that this is a good way for us to establish peace, and yet we are just behaving like ostriches and not allowing the real solution to prevail.
Well, I know that we'll go forward to have more conversation, but what are we talking about on big issues?
Obviously, this is one of the major issues that we are talking about.
This has certainly had to be.
Yes, but we are going to put it in the context of diplomatic relations. We are going to analyze it in relation to Ghana's foreign policy generally, compare it and see whether it's a departure, because some are already saying that, well, we risk sanctions from the US. We're already under tariffs. We are in the US and we are telling them that they are denying people visa and they are not speaking on Gaza as they ought to. So we are going to put it within that context and have a discussion. Then the second issue has to do with grid coal. Yesterday we heard from the management, they are indicating that their pylons, their towers, people are engaged in illegal mining around it, and they've had to rush in some instances to ensure that they are more stable, reinforce them basically to prevent them from falling. So it's now a threat to our power transmission, our power distribution sector. And so that is those are the issues that we'll be discussing on
the president was talking about climate change, etc. I think this one is the only absence in the speech. The illegal mining is marauding or invading this country, and so he wants to tighten policy on the subject.
The Greco statement yesterday scared me to understand that they are even shooting at those who are going there just for maintenance works. That's quite dangerous. Yeah.
There's gold beneath the pylons. What do you expect? I mean, it's not a funny statement though, but it also speaks volumes about how, as a state, we've been very ineffective at tackling a situation. There was an arrest yesterday, and you had MG3s and another double-barrel guns.
Oh, the armed robbery syndicate.
Yeah, apart from that, many of them also, we've had arrests in mining areas where people have such.
Yeah, I mean, the weapons the guys are wielding these days. It's like they are running a full-blown army on their own.
And the security just look on and they do nothing about it.
Because it's just like Akable said, it looks like more sophisticated weapons than the normal security agencies. And I was telling a story earlier that when I went to one of the Galamsey sites, I went to pick those food items for the examination on the metals in our food. I'm telling you, there was a point I was actually amazed and kind of frozen, because when you get to those sites, especially those who are destroying the cocoa farms, they have those who are on the roadside monitoring who is coming into the vicinity and those who are doing the work. And I remember they whispering among themselves and even telling the guy who was leading us that who is this person, and all sort of dangerous questions. And so it's quite dangerous even for security agencies who may go there with arms, because these people have really sophisticated arms.
The president is commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces as well. The vice president is chair for the police council. I don't know. I think the decision rightly is at their doorstep. And so they have the responsibility and the power to be able to do that. But my outfit today is by Amadou. That's Sonar Fashions. They're based in Tamale as well. And so when you go to Sonar, fashions in Tamale. Make sure that you make any order. Wherever you are in Ghana, they'll have delivery as well. But wherever you are also in Ghana or across the globe, you can also participate in cash out. It goes with a short code *439#. All you need to do is to dial this *439#, choose option 2. All right. So you're going to get a prompt. We're going to give 1,000 Ghana cedis to each of the winners. So we're going to have 10 lucky winners today. And for all those who will be winning, you only get lucky if you increase the number of tickets as you stake and become lucky as always. I think we need to stick to the president's speech at the UN Assembly and ask you, what do you make of that speech, the pointers that he made, and do you think it was provocative enough for world leaders to be able to have a thought or two in how our world is run in relationship with the role that Africa needs to play among many others? And that's a question of the day for the This Morning segment, Right Up.
The denial of visas to President Abbas and the Palestinian delegation sets a bad precedent and should be deeply worrying to all member nations of the United Nations. Ghana recognized the state of Palestine in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop.
If it swims like a duck, it must be a duck.
Yeah,
let's go
quacks like a duck.
Yes,
let's certainly has to be the question.
Yeah. Let's go to Collins now, who's joining us. Hello, Collins. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on New Day. Tell us where you're calling from and what your thought is on what we just heard to the president.
Yes, good morning. I'm calling, as you said, calling from Amamole in the Ghana Municipal.
Yes, sir.
Let me greet, yes, your chairs, listeners, and Roland and you, Beatrice and Akabri. The president said it yesterday, but I'll touch this one, and it's very, very necessary and important. I will appeal and beg the truck drivers and their mates that it's becoming and becoming and becoming. Look, if you go to Bokwasi, that's where I stay. I'm Amamole, but where I participate my various area to go my business and so on and so forth. The truck drivers, what they are doing is very bad and criminal. Look, they will load from Pokwasi. You know definitely that this car is going to Accra or Circle. They will load from Pokwasi, Achimota, straight. After Achimota, then they continue to Circle or Accra, which is very, very, very bad. And this increment can be this person will come on to complain, to make a huge way that, look, government, we are begging you. So please, what is going on is not only Pokwasi, across Ghana. So drivers, mates and drivers, we are begging you, stop that criminal. It's very, very bad offense. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Collins, are you still on? Okay, we lost Collins there. Okay, so his issue is with how the truck drivers are working, and I still wanted to get some clarity on it. I don't know whether it's extorting monies from passengers because they are going to Accra and they decide to load Achimota, and then from there they will continue to Accra or Circle.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's extortion.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a way of they are trying to get more money, and also to cover a lot more distances. And you know the thing about the using the trottoir is when the distance is very long.
Yeah,
it's actually very cheap because if you do the short in between, so like if you do the short in between and you add how much you pay,
okay,
it will be more than. So, for instance, if you're
picking from Pokwasi straight to Accra.
Exactly. So sometimes they do those are tricks that they do just to try and get through with it. But I'm sure it's something that I'm sure the authorities are paying attention.
I hope the GPRTU is aware and will look into this matter so that passengers are a bit relieved. So, callers, you just watched the president there. If you couldn't get the chance to watch him yesterday when he delivered that live message at the UN General Assembly, you've had the opportunity to watch it now. We have another caller joining us. Good morning to you, sir. Tell us where you're calling from. How are you doing, first of all? Thank you for joining us. Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
My name is Abdulkarim Halidu from Boku.
Yes, sir. How is Boku this morning? I hope it's calm. Great. Please tell us what's on your mind.
Okay. I want to talk about the issue of President Mahama.
Please go ahead.
Okay. The issue of President Mahama about the Palestinian and then Gaza. Okay. But when the two still fighting, we are talking about Palestinian and Gaza. And the coup is still fighting from 4 years to 5 years. And still we're here suffering. Women and children are here suffering. And still now, there's no peace in Boku.
Hello? Okay, it looks like we've lost him on the line there, but he seems to have, Blay, why are you smiling? He seemed to have some thought on what the president said, trying to kind of compare it with what's happening in Boku.
Basically, like there are serious issues here in Baku. It's a comment that I've seen someone also put on social media that there are pertinent issues happening here. And, it's simple that the president said does not get why the president is speaking on global matters, dealing with it. Similar to the climate change, Galamsey.
That Roland made.
It's a similar argument that he puts across. But I mean, obviously, the context would have to be that he's a global player. I mean, he's a global leader. It's a debate that they are dealing with at the UN General Assembly. And yes, there would have to be local matters, but it would have to also embrace other global matters. And that we are a nation. We are not an island. We are participating in deliberations with other countries, and their issues concern us. I mean, we've all seen what we were told the Russian-Ukraine war did to us, and what COVID globally did to everyone, including our continent as well. So, I mean, that's the context, really.
So your namesake is on the line, Joseph Amwa. Hi, yes, Joseph. Please. Good morning to you. Tell us where you're calling from and what's on your mind.
I'm calling from Bolga.
Yes, sir. Please tell us what you're thinking about today.
I said I'm calling from Bolga. I just want to commend the president for what he has said. That enough is enough. The Western nations should leave us in peace. That's what I want to say.
Okay, that's straight to the point. Thank you very much for calling us from Bolga. Roland, I believe other people are also sharing their
so we have a couple of messages, and let me say good morning to Alhaji Biril of National Security and Edmond Combat of the Tema Oil Refinery. More importantly, Kuku Ampia, you're celebrating your birthday. And so happy birthday to you, Kuku. I have this one from Randa and the Shah. So Randa Shah said the crimes in Gaza must stop. Somebody has to say it. And this is it. The president has said it. Thank you, Mr. President. President John Dramani Mahama. And that's all the emojis that you can find. And then Sherry Giovanni says, yesterday, watching the president's speech, I was so proud to be a Ghanaian. I didn't know where he got those bold statements from. And I was delighted he spoke straight to the conscience of the Western powers and their manipulative tactics. Then Sherry Giovanni continued. He also echoed the constant position of President Akufo-Addo about the reparations for Africa and the appeal for a permanent seat on the Security Council of the UN. We thank God for giving us bold leaders such as Kwame Nkrumah, Kofi Annan, President Kufuor, Jerry John Rawlings, Akufo-Addo, John Mahama, among others. Sherry Giovanni seems to say. We have another caller.
Indeed, and let's go to him. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on New Day. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good morning. I am Mejina from Siani.
Mejina Kwesi.
Yes, boy. Extend my greetings to Kukiti and the rest of the team, as well as those you are with at the studio.
Thank you so much.
I think Africans, Ghanaians, we are slaves in the mind. That is our problem. I heard someone criticizing that the president should have been commenting on Boga. Is it a Senate war? I am a Northerner, 100% Northerner. We have to look at them and tell them the truth. Why should you be calling yourself brothers and sisters, but at the end of the day, you use a machete or a gun to shoot at your fellow? Does it make sense? Because you stay together. This land belongs to me, this land belongs to me, and you kill yourself. And you are not going to tell them. A lunatic person will not do this. We are not thinking right because we have so many challenges in the north. I am a northerner and I will never go and invest in the north because if I go and invest one day, a second, not even a day, one having issue with you can just burn you, kill you, or destroy your property. You keep wasting the poverty level in the north. And what are you telling me? Is the president who asked them to be shooting themselves? Is the president who asked them to be fighting among themselves? Why we Northerners, we cannot use legal means to resolve problems in the north? And I think it is time when they start doing this. Any president, you should stop sending security there. Let them kill themselves. When the land becomes empty, they will realize. Look at the women and children, how they are suffering there. You are there telling the president to not be talking about what is in the US affecting the world. Are we insane?
Mejina Kwesi, thank you very much, Mejina. Mejina, thank you very much, Mejina.
I mean, quite passionate, but of course, we need a security men there to be able to maintain law and order. And there are innocent women, children, boys and girls that really need protection as well, who are impacted by what's going on. So we cannot say that because people do not seem to understand themselves, we should leave them out. Because, I mean, you would understand that conflicts are quite sensitive and there are layers of issues why people stick to their opinions and stance. And so there's a more, well, thank God Otunfo is in helping to deal with the problem. So it's more complicated than just people who want to fight and just kill themselves. And so
deep-rooted.
Yes, deep-rooted. That's actually the word.
Right.
Yes. So
Andy Agler says our president is really brave. What a speech. And then Erickson MK says, okay, the Excellency Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, President Berima Tintin Gramo, and one fair John Dramani Mahama is a sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and so his flute. Hey, boss. He says, please, no summary today. I summarized it, read it in full. So I give him appellations that he did very well as well. And then Prince Minka also says that the folks who came from the UK to the New World, America, were immigrants. They are the forefathers of the Americans. I don't want to even get into the debate of the real American. President Mahama has woken the world up. Hi to Blair and Beatrice. The future is African, you say. Prince Minka is with the gold board.
Oh, gold board is Prince Minka.
Yeah.
Good morning to him.
I kind of felt it was him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Prince Nani Ayok says, kudos to President Mahama for his courageous speech. African leaders should emulate his boldness, speaking truth to power, uniting to strengthen the continent, and prioritizing Africa's development over Western influence. Well, Prince Nani Ayok lives in the UK. Good morning to you. He's back in Ghana. Please, all his classmates, go and look for him. He's in Kumasi.
Kumasi is very big.
Yeah,
Are they going to
I
find
won't say
him?
the exact place.
I see. We have another caller. I think Isaiah from Upper West. Good morning, Isaiah.
Oh, good morning, Roya. This is Isaiah calling from London.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say very thank you for the opportunity and looking at you, just looking at you like I see the way you are want to do but I want to give everyone to a benefit so that any of their conditions to make my name on television. Just on the last note. Yes, the video that we just watched, I know the whole world was so proud, especially every black Africa. It was very proud that that's the group that we said at the UN General Assembly. So we have petty issues with our sectors. It doesn't really matter that the president should have been delivering the point about things that he himself is already working and supposed to get himself. There is a saying that you don't want your dirty land in the public. As for the Boko and the Galamsey, we are quite sure that we use our internal mechanisms to solve those issues without going to the West and without going to mention them to anybody at all. But for the fact that there are other people who are suffering and having dire conditions compared to Ghana, you need to equally say something so that the world is up to their aid. And that one, there's no problem at all. What I want to say is that this president that we have out of this Roland, look at the man in that attire, that native attire, that boldness in the midst of the native attire that he wore yesterday. And I tell you, President Mahama is a double sword cutting edge person. Why? Because the smoke that he wore yesterday, he has been doing consistently. And it meant that he's marketing our northern culture, our northern attire to the whole world. And currently, as you speak, the whites of the Western world is interested in our smoke. And that is the point that he's trying to create business for the smoke business value chain so that people will get employed and the poverty level within the northern sector will be eradicated. So there are ways and means that this president, whatever he is, is using his body, is using his body language and taking his own activities to promote Ghana and make Ghana a center state. And I have to commend him for that. And I wish that all of us as Ghanaians are very proud of the fact that this is the kind of president that we have out of this moment. On the lighter note, we didn't hear of slang, we didn't hear of apart accent and all those things. Very pure, true to the point, and then very simple the message. And I wish to commend the president for that. And we are proud as Ghanaians that yes, this is what a president should have been doing for other than. Thank you very much.
You have set the room on fire and you are saying on the lighter note, Papa Room. He says, okay, I don't want to repeat what he said.
No stray bullets.
Okay.
He said what?
He was talking about, he says this time around there were no slangs, there were not, I don't know what he's talking about.
But to be truthful, the president, before that, that's former president Akufo-Addo has also made bold statements.
Yes. Especially on the reparation points and the UN reforms. Those are two things that were very, very constant.
And then the issues
in
about
all the speeches.
Pillaging our raw materials.
Yes.
I also think
he might not have said it at the UN General Assembly boldly, but he said it in whether it's France, African meetings, etc. And he's been very bold about it.
I think also the amount of money that the global world promised to give us to help deal with global warming and climate issues, yes, those have also been repeated as well. Well, we have another caller. Good morning to you, sir. Tell us your name, where you're calling us from.
Good morning. My name is Richard. I'm calling from Tishmai.
Yes, please. Tell us what's on your mind today.
Yeah, please. I want to thank the president for the speech that he gave. But one thing we should also know is that after we go there to speak this way, and when we come back, what do? Africans, when we get opportunity, we go there to speak, and people will clap for us. But when we come to our continent, we don't put in the action. You see, when they wanted to come and invade Burkina Faso, we had some presidents in Africa who were supporting the West to come.
Like who?
Cote d'Ivoire president was there.
And who else?
Cote d'Ivoire president. And then there are some other presidents too. But the example I can give you the Cote d'Ivoire president because his name was trending. You see that? And when we came to Ghana to our own Boko issues, somebody must speak the truth. Someone must have said that this land does not belong to me. It belongs to this group. But no, you rather kill people to keep that. Something that does not belong to you, you have to lie to keep it. And if you lie to keep it today, the day you see the truth doesn't belong to you, you will lose it. So you lie and have it for 100 years or forever. Look at Santa, our old Tichiman Sampa here. Look at what happened there. Chieftaincy.
Yeah.
There's chaos. So somebody will say that then if people will die for me to get the land and put my cheese there, then let people die. And we're the same people to solving issues to other areas. So what are we doing to ourselves? The president has spoken well, but when we come back, we should also come as Africans and take action. Let the truth be the truth so that we can live peacefully. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your views with us. Thank you. You can still call in and share with us what you're thinking, what the president spoke about, and the first caller or the second was also sharing something about that trotro and all of that. So whatever it is that you've got on your mind, we are here to listen to you. So call in. And Roland, any more messages from?
Well, we have a couple of messages coming through, and this one is coming from Ismaila Horoya Ali. Elijah, good morning to you. He says, our president should now be called John Dramani Nkrumah Mahama. Accolades. Prince Henry Kufuor says that, we are throwing stray bullets. He says that even former President Nana Akufo-Addo will be proud of John Mahama yesterday. Akasokri Joseph says his speech was a symbol of a leader with conviction, clothed with Africanism and an appeal for equal justice. He continues, this is a leader who knows his craft. Akasokri Joseph from Bongo. I'm saying good morning to you, Philippine Godot, right here in Accra, East Legon. Wishing you all the best for the day, Philippine Godot, as well as Gloria, Keynes, as well as Davina. But
we have another caller. Patrick is on the line. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kwabena.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk about the speech Mahama gave yesterday at the UN.
Fire away.
Yeah, I mean, that was very bold and that was straight to the point about, how these people have been oppressing us for, since they invaded us, took our people to develop their place, stole our resources, and did all the kind of things they did, and still continue today with all kind of unfair trade practices, unfair economic, practices that goes against us as a people. I mean, he might not be the first person who has spoken, but he has spoken boldly. But another thing now is watch these people come after him, because the West don't want to hear this kind of things. They will come after him. They will make his government unpopular through all kind of means, use local people to discredit him, and the rest of Africa will still speak and watch. They came for Gaddafi, nobody said anything. They demonized Mugabe, nobody said anything. These are people who said this kind of things, who try to drum into the ears of the West the atrocities they've been committing or they have committed, and they are still continuing to commit against the against African people who own the resources that run the world. You understand? Africa, without Africa, there's no capitalism. It's been established. The World Wars First and Second was fought because of the resources of Africa. And these are plain facts. And we are still today looking at them continue what they are doing, and nobody is talking. So I pray that God will protect him, because they will come after him. They don't like hearing this kind of things. Anyway, Fela, the Nigerian musician, said, if you talk, you die. You don't talk, you die. So you talk and die. That is the attitude we must adopt.
Is that Patrick?
These people.
That's Patrick.
One way or the other. They are not happy.
You think the clap they were clapping there is from their heart? We know them. Forget their smiling faces, forget the clap. They will go into another meeting and start plotting how to bring it down. That is sure.
Patrick.
So, but I appreciate his boldness.
Patrick.
We are here for a short while. They die, we die.
Patrick.
He's not listening to you.
Patrick. The world will change and it turns to our favor in time to come. Whether you like it or not. Yes, I'm listening.
Patrick. Patrick, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. You know the song that was sung by Nkrumah, There is Victory. Do you know that song?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Okay, so let's sing it together.
Okay.
There is victory for us.
I'll hum it.
Anyway, that also used to be the CPP anthem as well.
Protection for him because he will surely be targeted one way or the other. But let's pray for him. Let's call our ancestors to back him up and protect him for us. We need more of these things to happen.
Okay.
Because they will come after him. They came for Gaddafi.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You understand? They really came for this small boy who came for that in Burkina Faso. You get me? And they will come for you once you are doing something that will, make them not get what they are getting from here.
I agree.
Once it comes from here, the oil, the gold, the petrol, the diamonds, everything is from our soil.
And you spoke about that yesterday, the resources.
These are criminals. Sorry to use this kind of words in your studio, but let's call the spade a spade.
Thank you very much.
Mahama said it yesterday, they call them criminals to their places. To call them criminals to their places because they get the theft of our artifacts.
Yeah.
That is theft. If you commit theft, you are a criminal. It's a short of using the word criminal, but it's by implication we call them criminals.
Patrick, thank you so much. On this your, I won't call it diatribe, but this your ferocious speech, so to speak. Very feisty.
Yeah.
All right. So I have this one from Stephen Peng. Stephen Peng, good morning to you. Just celebrated the 70th birthday about 2 or 3 weeks ago and says, Ghana is blessed to have a reincarnated Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We wish other African leaders could be that brave in this point in time and speak truth to power to the world leaders for the war in Gaza, for example, to end unconditionally. Stephen Peng from Wa, well, echoes of the past, almost like everything. And then also Sheikh Abubakar Ali Napar, the president of the Light Foundation, and they are doing so much work. He says, I was so happy and proud after listening to the president's speech yesterday. And again, we must always speak the truth, no matter the situation, and we must do that boldly. Sheikh Abubakar Ali Napar. And then also Araba Seguamoni, good morning to you, says that my husband and I, Mr. Chikata, were watching yesterday the live session of the president's speech and we felt so proud. Good to be a Ghanaian at this point in time. That's Araba Seguamoni. Kwame Osei-Boateng says that the president spoke and spoke well, but he should have also added that, well, while the world leaders are grappling with Gaza and climate change, etc., he's also grappling with dealing with Galamsey and the Boko crisis. Mama Wong of the Asogli State, good morning to you, says that I'm inviting the whole team to the Yam Festival of Ho, or the Asogli State, this weekend. Make sure you're all there. We'll try and be there once we have the means. And Richard Amankwa, aka Mr. Kwashi, good morning to you, says that hope all of you are good. You guys are looking good. Say hi to Beatrice and Blay for me. Tell Beatrice that I love her and tell Blay that I love him too. But Roland, you don't read my messages. Oh, Mr. Kwashi, I just read your message. And said, I love the president's speech. Mr. Kwashi, good morning to you. He lives in
that's a lot of love he's sharing.
Yes.
It's a Valentine morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have to go for a break, right?
Yes.
But we have cash out.
Yes.
Cash out goes with the short code *439#. So this is what you need to do. Please put the template on the screen quickly as possible. So we have *439#. That is the short code in yellow there. So you dial it. When you dial, you follow the prompt. And the prompt is going to ask you how many tickets you want to choose. I always advise you choose 30 and above. 30 and above.
If you can't 40, life begins at 40, so you can do that as well, 40. And then you increase that number, as always. When we do the draws, this is what happens. On the electronic dashboard, the more you choose the number of stakes, you'll find that your number, if it's 0244444444, it will be on the electronic dashboard plenty. So electronically, when the draw is done,
it increases the likelihood of your number being
exactly picked. But if you have number 0245251 and you only staked only 2, it will be the you see 02444, then we'll go before we will get yours 1. Before we get yours 1. That's why many of you don't win. Increase the number of tickets.
Paro.
I'm telling you. Some people don't know the trick. That's what others have been doing and been winning.
You're explaining probabilities in a very simple manner.
Fantastic. You're a statistics student. You love statistics in school.
Yeah. I mean, I did.
Fantastic guy.
I did.
You're a man of all sorts. Yeah. Okay, please.
Yes, before we go for the break, just to inform you that TV3 is the home of the Ghana Premier League. Every week, we bring you 3 live GPL matches, the biggest games, the fiercest rivalries, and the brightest stars brought straight to you with screens and world-class coverage. But that's not all. We set the stage with our GPL preview show, giving you the inside scoop and expert analysis. And when the final whistle blows, we keep you covered with our highlights and review programs so you never miss a goal, a save, or a talking point. For the fans who love to stay connected on the go, we have reels and updates on social media for you. This is more than just coverage. This is TV3 positioning the Ghana Premier League as premium sports product. So mark your calendars, gather your friends, and join us this weekend for another unforgettable round of Ghana Premier League football only on TV3. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'll be back with the usual Friday team for big issues, and subsequently we have a bit more sports and other interesting discussions, including that big interview with Rocky Dawuni, the Grammy-nominated reggae act. There, we'll be right back with more.
Everybody must join this union.
Thank you for staying with us as always. And as always, we have some cash to give away to you. It's very simple. You don't have to do anything. Just grab your phone, dial *439#. Follow the prompt and pick number 2. That's TV3. And you enter the draw. And like Roland was explaining the probabilities for you earlier on. I mean, the more tickets you put in, it means that your number is appearing a lot of times. So it increases the likelihood that if we are picking at random as the system does operate in that manner, your number is likely to be picked and you just stand a greater chance of winning 1,000 cedis. We are giving 1,000 cedis to how many? 10 individuals today. So just participate. And Roland says that the magic number is 30 and above. And so just participate multiple times. *439#. Follow the prompt. Pick your favorite platform. That is number 2. And continue to stake. And you stand a chance of winning some cash on a Friday. It's Friday. It's some good money. You would need it on a Friday. Yes. It's time for the discussion segment. As always, let me introduce you to my guest first, then we'll come to the topic. Abraham Amaliba is a founding member of the Ghana Law Society, a legal practitioner, a member of the National Democratic Congress, and Director General of the National Road Safety Authority.
A lot of accolades now.
Yes, a lot of accolades. A lot of accolades. AB, thank you for joining us always.
Thank you. But you know, I told you that John Jinakwa was up to the task. I told you when the doom show started, I told you that I have confidence in him. I'm told that we have, during peak hours, we have excess. I told you he will pull the magic.
Yes. In fact, I remember you. The word you used was said he was a steady hand.
He's a steady hand. I told you. No, nobody is talking. It's time we praise when it's due and condemn when it is also due. I will come back one day to tell you about my experience with Atuforsen. And how his mindset is about the economy. Because I had an encounter with him openly in a conference room where budgets were being read. And it is the reason why the previous government didn't have that mindset. And today the World Bank is saying it wasn't Korea, it wasn't Russia, Ukraine, it wasn't COVID that brought our economy to its knees, but there were underlying factors. So I'll tell you about Atuforsen one day.
Also in the studio is Kwame Jantua. He is a member of the Ghana Bar Association, legal practitioner as well. He's also an energy analyst and a member of the Convention People's Party.
We'll drag him to
the Ghana Law Society. Okay. Senior, welcome as always.
Thank you. He took the wind out of my sail.
On the power situation,
On the power.
Can I read something?
Yes, you can.
You're also going to talk
about. The World Bank has dismissed the Akufo-Addo administration's long-standing claim that Ghana's 2022 economic collapse was driven by global shocks, stating instead that the crisis was fundamentally self-inflicted. So let me ask the question: is that deception? Is that deception? Answer me.
Oh, you're asking me.
I'm asking you.
I'm supposed to be asking
but he doesn't answer questions.
I'm supposed to be asking you a question.
Okay, so let me ask the people of Ghana. Is that deception? That a whole government will predicate economic crisis on something that had nothing to do with it. And they should come and sit here and defend themselves. They won't come.
Also in the studio, he has come to defend himself and his group, the Movement for Change, a Bubakman, economic and financial analyst as well. He supports a small team drafts and a big team Barcelona.
That is not a small team.
Both thank you for joining us always.
Yeah.
And also in the studio with us is Professor Enoch Opoku Entry, the Atasa man, Prof.
One and only.
Prof.
Appreciate it. That's his new name. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
That's his new name.
I'm also Kwame.
It's like
I want to take this opportunity to uplift the youth.
Okay.
I know that a lot of the youth out there are struggling to get jobs. I know parents are struggling to put food on the table, but I want to encourage them this Friday morning that God is with us. Everything is going to be all right. Once there's life in our nostrils, there is always hope.
Prof, God helps those who help themselves.
No, God doesn't do that.
He helps those who help themselves.
God helps those who are not able to help themselves. That is called the grace of God.
He helps those who help themselves.
All right, let's tell you a bit more about what we are discussing this morning on the show. We are talking about the president's address yesterday, and during this morning segment, a lot of you called in to share your views on some of the matters that he discussed. And I was saying that yesterday I spoke to a very experienced diplomat who had made a point that this speech, in his opinion, stands tall. I mean, beyond the fact that some of the matters are issues that have been raised by various Ghanaian leaders. They talk about the reforms and the reparations. We know that former President Adan Akufo-Addo is also talking about that. But specifically on the other global issues of immigration, on issues of the Israel-Palestine conflict over the Gaza Strip, I mean, those were matters that he dealt with head-on. I mean, he did not mince any words. And it's within the global context where we know that already the U.S. Under Donald Trump in the last couple of months have been strong-arming African countries all over the place. We know that tariffs have been imposed, and there are fears that some of these comments will only exacerbate our situation and worsen it. Particularly, his comment directly on the Palestinian president not being granted a visa to enable him attend the program, and also talking about the fact that, well, he thinks that the UN and world leaders, for that matter, are dancing around trying to find the appropriate words to fit what is happening in Gaza. He says that it's simply a crime. If it's moving like a duck, you don't call it any other thing. And those are some key themes in the speech. He also talked about Africa's central role in the future. He did a historical narrative trace of how Africa did not play a prominent role in the setting up of the organization, but he says the future is for Africa, and Africa will play a key role, and that key role will only be possible if a second look is taken in terms of how the Security Council is set up, the reforms. Africa needs a permanent seat on that particular council as well, and the powers that have been granted the permanent members, questioning that. He also talked about the situation in Cuba, in Sudan. I've already touched on the Palestine and the Gaza conflict as well, and reparations. And the update is that Ghana intends to introduce a motion at the United Nations General Assembly for reparations to be provided for African countries for the slavery. He also touched on the climate and development, and those are all issues that have got many people talking, and this is what will engage our attention in the first part of the discussion this morning. In case you missed all of it, this is just a little bit of what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said when he addressed the United Nations General Assembly yesterday. Watch this.
The denial of visas to President Abbas and the Palestinian delegation sets a bad precedent and should be deeply worrying to all member nations of the United Nations. Ghana recognized the state of Palestine in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop.
That's His Excellency John Dramani Mahama there, and let's delve right into it, and I'll start off from Prof right next to me, and Prof, I mean, the government, the president, I mean, he's expressing serious concerns about the conduct to an extent of US and the other superpowers. Is it justified for anyone to be concerned about possible repercussions of such commentary?
Not at all. The president made all of us proud yesterday, and he showed courage. You know, if an American see a president from Africa speaking like this, they are happy, because America is the land of the free and home of the brave. They like people who speak their minds. And he did exactly that. What President Mahama did yesterday, with the UN General Assembly was just a wholesale prize that he gave them. I'm going to give you Ruto, what he said. And then you can see that African leaders are now serious. He said this, he said, I will lead a delegation of African leaders to pull out of the United Nations if Africa is not given a permanent seat. Enough of the disrespect. This is what Ruto, the president of Kenya, said. So African leaders are serious now because for far too long, the disrespect is too much. Now, I have seen a lot of other countries because I'm coming from academia, so we'll look at research and what is happening. India is saying that they have 1.4 billion population, which is the entire population of Africa, and they don't have a permanent seat. Germany is saying that they have economic power in Europe than the British and the others. They don't have a permanent seat. So why Africa? Now we have to argue our case in a different way. So let's look at the United Nations, how it was formed. Then we'll know why Africa is still not a permanent member with a veto power in the United Nations and security. The United Nations was founded on October 24th, 1945, at San Francisco in California, US. So it was their idea that we are going to form the United Nations, and that was after they had bombed, Japan and other places, and the Second World War ended on September 2nd, 1945. So September 2nd, 1945, Second World War ended, and then in October 24th, 1945, we are having the United Nations formed. Now, credit to the United Nations. After the United Nations was formed, there have never been a Third World War. So let's credit the United Nations for that. Now, their core mandate was to maintain peace and security. So that is the core mandate of the UN. And then they promote human rights and fundamental freedoms. Then the last one is to foster international cooperation to solve global problems. And what are the global problems? Some of these our president talked about. We talked about poverty, he talked about diseases, environmental degradation. These are the issues that he talked about. So the Security Council first, then I'll go to what our president said and why courage is a virtue now for our leaders. And he cleverly exhibited that in his speech. If you look at the Security Council, the permanent members with the veto powers are US, UK, China, France, and Russia. Now, each of these blocs have their own interests. Remember, Mandela was saying something that it's not every nation that wishes Africa well. And it is something that we need to understand. But I'll also bring in a story, my personal story, why I'm sitting here, why most Ghanaians who have lived abroad like myself need to come home and help. One day I was going somewhere, I was being in a hotel, and there was this white guy who, and I'm not saying that to categorize white people, because people are always people. Some will be good, some will be bad, some will be in between. It doesn't matter the color or the shape. Now, this guy I met in the morning, I said good morning, he didn't respond. And the way he looked at me, kind of trying to see you in a different way. You know what I mean? Then we started the conference. And that was the same guy sitting in front of, the whole auditorium, listening to me attentively and taking notes. And I was delivering on leadership, which is my specialty. So he was taking a lot of notes. And then when we finished the session, he came to me and then started asking me questions. So here am I asking the question to myself that this guy is feeding on my hand. But he disrespected me in the morning. Just because he felt maybe because of my color, I am nothing. But now he's here listening to me and taking notes from me. So I learned a lesson from it. If you are an individual, you will only be respected if your country is respected. Once your country loses respect, you as an individual, you don't have any respect anywhere you go. And that is why it is prudent for our leaders to talk for a country. It is prudent for all of us to be nationalistic, because without your country, you are nothing. Now, let me come back to the United Nations, the Security Council. 5 of them have veto powers. They are permanent members. And then we have 10 non-permanent members who are elected for 2-year terms at the General Assembly. So if you are a non-permanent member, 10 of them, you are elected for 2 years, then they bring another one. Why? It serves their interest, because they are permanent. They have the veto powers. They make decisions. So US, all they have to do is to lobby either France or UK. then they are 3 against 2, which is Russia and China. And then they can go through the veto powers and do whatever they want to do. Now, if they allow Africa in, if they allow other countries in, how are they going to be able to manipulate that? So every country is serving their interest. They all have permanent interests. They don't have permanent friends. So let's look at by 2026 now, the 5 new members. We have Denmark, Greece, Pakistan, Panama, and Somalia. So they have split Africa apart. We have Somalia, which is an African country, as a non-permanent member, but we don't have the whole of Africa. So this is how we have to go. Either the whole African Union, the chair of the African Union is representing Africa. So we have to go with blocks, not as individual countries. Because if we don't have a common voice and a uniform front, then there's going to be that colonial style, divide and rule. So we need to go with that common front. Then 2025, they had Algeria. So they will pick one African country that they think is easy to, come along as non-permanent members and then go with their permanent members. So always America have that interest. Now I am coming to our president, what he said. I think that he did well by showcasing Ghana to the world about what the reset agenda. He talked about the inflation that has gone down. He talked about the city that has risen. He criticized global financial systems bias against Africa and called for that reparations. Now, the reparation issue, I have attended a lot of conferences that people have asked me about it, and there are different thoughts, divided thoughts about reparation. Some of these advanced countries in US and Europe are saying that we did not start slavery. So it was our forefathers. So why do we have to pay for the sins of our forefathers? We now embrace Africans everywhere that they come. So we don't have the financial strength to pay Africa back. But I think that if you look at the torture that our people went through, recently Trump has ordered an executive order that all slavery materials, you go to museums and you see a black person whose back is all salt, monuments should be removed from American museums because it tells a bad picture. I'm also telling Americans that anybody who wants to be a citizen in America, there are 100 questions you have to answer. Now, one of the questions is which people came here as slaves. They should remove it from the Homeland Security questions because everybody in America comes from somewhere. It's an immigrant, apart from the native Indians. But why should it be there that it is only these people who came here as slaves? So there are many things hidden in books that tells our story not in the right way. And it is up to us to tell our own story because nobody's going to tell our story for us. And that is exactly what the president did. I think that migration was a very thorny issue that he talked about. And he cited Ghanaian attorney, a lady whose parents are from Ghana and what they are doing, and a lot of Ghanaians who are doing well. Now I'm told that there is a Ghanaian who is married to the vice president of Malawi now. Malawi current vice president, a lady, she's married to one Mr. Ansa, a lawyer from Ghana. So Ghanaians are doing well wherever they find themselves, which is great. And I think that he made a strong case for Africa, that we need our support. And the last thing that I will talk about was the Gaza conflict. That conflict has lingered for so long. And if you look at innocent women and children that have died from this, the United Nations need to stand up and then stop it once and for all.
Just quick follow-ups on some of the issues you talked about. First, on the reforms at the Security Council. I mean, there are those who make the argument that it's just a reflection of the world order, and the explanation would be that those are the countries that keep the global economy running, largely in terms of support. It's these days that even the US aids have gone down and everything. So, I mean, more or less, if we are doing contribution, it's not one man, one vote in terms of contribution. So why should it be one man, one vote?
So thank you for that question. America is just 4% of the world population. But America consumes 20% of the world resources, which is 1/5 of it. Ask where they get their resources from Africa. So Africa is the only continent that we don't need the rest of the other continent to survive. We have everything here. Just that we've not reached the level where we can process things and do things for ourselves. Do you know just petroleum product, different resources of, that you can get from it? Do you know even salt has 18 different uses? If we can process our own products, then Africa will be good to go.
Okay.
And we'll get the respect that we're looking for. So when it comes to contribution, if you go to just Congo and look at They call it the basket of world resources. Everything, lithium, gold, manganese, diamond. So Africa is giving the world everything. If you're talking about security, Africa is in the center of the world. Do you know that Africa, from here to Europe is just 6 hours, you are there. From America to Europe is 6 hours. And from here to America is about 10 hours and you are there. So we are in the center of the world. And when we are talking about security, you know, we should not be left out. The other thing is that Germany, when you talk about economic strength, it's more powerful than UK now. So why is Germany not a permanent member? Well, when you talk about they contributing more, it is not so as it used to be in the 1945.
Okay.
Now things have changed. Africa is contributing massively, even human resources. If you go to New York alone, Ghanaian and Nigerian doctors are more than any other nationalities. We are everywhere and doing great for other nations.
Okay.
So nobody can talk about we are not contributing to the basket of the world. And that mosaic of the basket of wealth, Africa has created a lot. And for a population of 18.83%, so America is just 4% of the world population. Africa alone, 54 countries, we are 1.5 billion population as of September 19, 2025. And that is 18.83% of the world population. If 18.83% of the world population are not represented as a permanent member of the UN, then Houston will have a problem.
Let me come to Ebo now, and let me start off on the immigration or migration, like some would want to call it. And the president cites examples. I've seen a post actually, someone criticizing that as well, saying that, well, you pick isolated instances. So the general concern is people go there in large numbers. They are there, some engage in all sorts of criminal activities. And so if you take those who have done so well, like Kofi Annan, to say that, well, those who are moving into your countries are not necessarily criminals and should not be treated that way. They believe that that is a bit more like a simple way of looking at the matter.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying to some extent. Of course, Africans, we ourselves must be able to sit up so that we create the kind of environment that our people will be, comfortable to stay in. People only travel because the kind of systems we have, the kind of economy we have even created here, the kind of opportunities we've created here, are not the opportunities that they feel comfortable, benefiting from. So they would have to travel. Certainly, if you have a country where people come without the right papers, people come to do all kind of things, you have every right to if you like, to send them back to where they came from. So on that, I don't really have problem with countries that are sending people back to where they came from. Even here, if you come here and you're not able to do things according to what our laws prescribe, I certainly would have to send you back to where you came from. But you see, I was excited when I was reading the speech, the president's speech. I think the president was bold, was fearless, was candid. I mean, he said things that the world leaders needed to hear. He presented them with if you like, a broad buffet of critical issues that Africans have had problems with over the years. And so he had a fine opportunity to tell them what they needed to hear. And I was excited how he started. He started by contextualizing Africa's historical exclusion from global decision making. The fact that from the very beginning, Africans were excluded from major decision making. And he referenced the formation of the League of Nations, the United Nations itself, and the fact that when it comes to critical issues, Africans are not given the high table. We are always, treated like a second-class citizen. To the extent that, as you rightly mentioned, to the extent that the whole continent is not having a permanent seat. I mean, how can you compare the whole Africa to France? France is France because of Africa. France depends on Africa for survival. So even look at their national teams, all Africans. Yeah. And so So
the question is always asked, how French
is the French national team? Yeah. I mean,
Judiciary said that without Africa, the Francophone countries, France will be a third world country.
Of course, and that is the reality. That is the truth. But so that is why it is highly unthinkable.
Okay.
I mean, to see that a whole continent is not represented having a permanent seat, but a country like France is having a permanent seat on a Security Council.
Well, I'll just have you hold on. I'll come back to you so that you land and move to the other parts of the the speech that stood out for you as well. Let me just briefly engage Dr. Vladimir Intridanso. He's having an engagement and has agreed to engage us very briefly. So let me just bring in Doc. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I want to ask a very direct question. I mean, for those of you within the international space, the diplomacy space, what you've told us over the period is that the principles that underpin Ghana's foreign policy borders around Pan-Africanism, non-alignment, peaceful coexistence, and good neighborliness. Was it fair to say that the president's speech is consistent with these policy underpinnings, or like some have criticized him by saying that it appears there's a bit of a departure, particularly on the non-aligned points or aspects of this particular foreign policy approach?
Thank you for having me. I'm surprised that you would say that the president veered away from non-alignment. The 4 pillars of our foreign policy principles were all there. Good neighborliness shows that we are good neighbors to every country in the world. So Palestine, or the people of Palestine suffering, they are good neighbors, and we must see to it that they are accorded that kind of neighborhood respect. When you talk of Pan-Africanism, he spoke for Africa. He spoke for Africa and on behalf of Africa. The way we have been treated, the way we are still being treated as hewers of wood and drawers of water, he didn't like it. So Pan-Africanism is also still there. Non-alignment, yes, we don't have to be aligned to the east or to the west. But putting this principle down means that we must be always looking forward ever, backwards never. So we don't look neither right, neither left. And over here, he didn't have to pander to the whims of the west, nor pander to the whims of the east. His forthright mission was this, that, hey, look, the world is at a crossroads. The Security Council, the United Nations system is collapsing, and we need to do something about it. Is that non-alignment or not non-alignment? I strongly believe that he took the path of non-alignment. So for me, we don't have to fault the president at all. People said he was forthright. You need to be forthright in international relations where you want something to be heard properly. And that is called offensive diplomacy. And that is what he chose to do. That he will be listening to people who applaud him, people who note it, and then try to help him take action on it. So we didn't fault our foreign policy at all under any circumstance.
I mean, on this point of the offensive diplomacy, and let's narrow it down and focus on Ghana and the USA. We know that we are one of the countries that they've imposed tariffs on, just like other countries as well. And we know the position that US have generally taken in relation to the situation in Gaza. And you hear the president being upfront about it, the tone, what you could put within offensive diplomacy. Is there a part where we have to be concerned about repercussions?
No, but I don't think that there is going to be any repercussion. He's going to be locked by Trump. He was what? He contradicted Trump. Trump says that if you recognize Palestine, then you are giving whatever it is to the Hamas. The president said no. He didn't mention Trump's name, but he was alluding to it.
Yeah, it was very clear he was speaking to him.
You are creating a situation where we live as good neighbors. And he's calling on the world to recognize this. So repercussions like what? America closing their embassy here, good riddance. America not giving us visas, good riddance. Or without America, Ghana will not die. When South Africa openly took Israel to court, America tried all kinds of tricks. South Africa is still a bouncing country. And there are several other countries. See, in diplomacy, when you lose something, there's no way you will lose something and not gain something. It's like digging a hole. Once you are digging a hole, you are creating a mound. If America moves away from Ghana today, there will be no vacuum. Look at the Association of Sahelian States. When France tried to mistreat them and even coerce ECOWAS to go and make coups left and right, they sacked the French. And what has happened? They are doing very well. In fact, Niger is going to be one of the best performing economies in 2026 just because of one commodity, uranium. So, when you lose something, you gain something. And the Russians have filled the vacuum. The Russians will quickly fill the vacuum. Let us not fear that when our president speaks directly in the face of America, we are going to lose anything. Why would America treat us this way? In the first place, they slapped this tariff 15% on us. The second one was to take away all the 5-year visas. And you think they don't know that they will do something? So in diplomacy, you don't fear moving forward once you know that it will inure finally to the benefit of your country.
Doc, let's talk about the push for reforms at the UN in terms of the architecture, how it stands, the Security Council. This is not a new demand. We've had, even here in Ghana, successive presidents make the request. We've also had other African presidents make similar requests. What must the African countries do differently if they want to ensure or convince the UN to change the structure?
Well, my take on that is simple. I was part of a group of people put together to put Ghana's position some years back. And our position was carried by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the then foreign minister to the African Forum in Izulwini. So if you remember, there is something called Izulwini Consensus. That is the African position, which was handed over to the UN. Kofi Annan relied on that very seriously in his note to the Security Council called In Larger Freedom. And that booklet, if you read, you will see Ghana's position and Africa's position. So this, like you are saying, it is not the first time we are demanding to be on the Security Council. My take on that is that it will not go anywhere. That demand is moot. Even though the president mentioned it and it's legitimate, it's moot. Moot in the sense that it was thrown away several times. 30 years we have been mentioning this thing. Why is it moot? This proposal will go back to the Security Council. They have to say yes. And yet you have the veto powers. And so if any one of them says no, then it is dead. Unless there's a situation where it will be accepted and not subjected to veto. You want to be a veto member. And the veto members will have to accept you. The kingmakers will have to accept you. Are you sure they are going to accept you to contradict them in that circle? So there is a catch-22 over here. The very people you want to overthrow are the people who could accept that proposal. Will it ever work? It will not work. My proposal, or the proposal I think Africa should be going for, and all other South countries should be going for, is a complete overhaul of the UN system. That is, let us have a new charter, a completely new charter. And my proposal is lined or laced with what is happening, what has been happening in history. At every historical jolt, the world meets to create a new charter. In 1648, the world met after 30 years of war, and we created the Westphalian system, as we call it. First World War came and ended in 1918, and we created the League of Nations to bring about peace in the world. Second World War came and we created this current UN system, which is hiccuping badly because it is too state-centered and still panders to the whims of the great powers. Now, there are several non-state actors, big actors on the stage, and small countries on the stage. So what do? Now, the Cold War came, it was the metaphor for defining international media. The Cold War ended 89-91, the Cold War had ended. After this Cold War, the world has not sat to recalibrate. We have not changed the UN system. The system was good from 45. After 91, it's dead. The UN is hiccupy because it is not made to cater for today's exigencies. So my take is that in future, our president, for the Foreign Relations Council in Ghana, should listen to some of us. We need to chart a course that changes the whole UN system into a new system where there's no Security Council, but the General Assembly will be the democratic assembly to bring about change in the world and peace in the world.
And finally, Doc, in terms of your conclusion for the request for reforming the Security Council, will your conclusion be the same for this push for reparations, which the president has served notice of? The next step we are taking, introducing a motion at the General Assembly for that to be also looked at critically?
It should be looked at very critically in the sense that we need this reparation. What Africa has not been able to do, we have been talking about it. Ghana did well. We have had 2 fora in Ghana 2023 and this year. We are having another forum in Rwanda next week. What Africa needs to do is to put it in proper focus. We need to learn from the Israelis. They were able to work out every spine of what is owed to them. I don't think Africa has done that. How much is owed to us and who should pay? Now we are back in pay reparation. Who should pay the reparation and to whom? I think we haven't worked that very well. We haven't got that actuarial mathematics over there. And we need to make it clear who should pay. If we do that and we get the support of the SAR, I think the world should now be listening to us. It doesn't mean paying special money to Ghana and then Nigeria will say, why didn't you pay us, and that kind of thing. There are several ways. Debt cancellation, debt forgiveness, all kinds of things that can be worked out for Africa to gain from such a situation.
All right. Doc, thank you so much for stepping out. I know it's a very busy morning. Thank you so much for stepping out and joining us with the brilliant analysis as always. Dr. Vladimir Intri-Danso is an international relation analyst, expert, and security analyst and expert as well, joining us with his views there. But sorry I had to cut in quickly. Prof was actually teaching people diplomacy, so we had to get him on the side quickly. But you had landed on the immigration point. I mean, with the context of what Prof provides on some of the things that are attainable and not. I don't know which other areas stood out for you.
Yes, but I think, as I alluded earlier, I think the president's speech was historically grounded, and I think some of the things he said are, as I mentioned, there are things that the world leaders needed to hear. And if you look at, you can also say that his speech was unapologetically African-centered. I mean, he emphasize Africa's growing demographic and strategic importance in the affairs of the world, and the fact that by 2050, 25% of the world's population is going to come from Africa, and also about 1/3 of the youth will be coming from Africa, which was very significant. And he also said the future is Africa, and that is where I want to dwell more on, because if the future is African, it's not going to be as a result of the fact that we have the numbers, but the things we begin to do today. I believe that we are well positioned as a continent if only we will respect ourselves and also look at the issue of United States of Africa. This issue that has been on the if you like on the table for a long time. If we're able to do that, if we're able to respect ourselves, if we're able to agree that as a continent, we need to identify ourselves as a united, a continent. Then we can have the bargaining chip to be asking for some of the things we're asking for. But if you go as individual states, and as I mentioned, to the extent that even France is recognized, even having a permanent seat on Security Council, and the whole continent of Africa is not having that. That is a problem. Okay. So I also want to also touch on the issue, another issue that the president talked about, which is the discrimination, or he said the global financial system is rigged against Africans, which is true. Because, I mean, to think of it, you have gone to the IMF 17 times. You are still struggling. So it means our future or our development is not dependent on the IMF prescriptions, because they have prescribed for us all these years, yet we are still struggling. The same with the World Bank. So of course, these between institutions are not for us. So it's about time we look beyond them to look at how Africa we can develop our own economic models. I believe that, I mean, in terms of natural resources, Africa is the richest. Okay. So why haven't we modeled our economic, if you like, structure around our natural resources, our agricultural resources, our marine resources? I mean, we have everything going for us, except that Of course, we've had greedy leaders. We've had leaders who don't really care about the people. They only care about themselves and all that. But I think it's about time we sat down and look at some of these things, because we can't be dependent on the West all the time.
Okay.
We don't have to be receiving candies from them. We have to be buying our own candies, if you like. And so I would, before I end, I would want to applaud the president for the kind of speech he gave out there. I think he made us proud, not only as a Ghanaian, he made us proud as Africans as well, that he was able to tell the world some of the things they needed to hear.
Let me come to senior now. And there are those who, you are a member of the Convention People's Party. The diplomat I was talking to yesterday, he was saying that the speech reminds him of the Nkrumah times when Ghana had a voice on national matters, and we were in the global political space playing roles and being heard. Is that the same sense that you also get from the speech by His Excellency?
Good morning to our viewers. And let me start by saying, I think President Mahama's speech was excellent. Hit the nail on the head. Before I come to that speech, we've just finished celebrating 116 years of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And last week, I did some research when I was going on GTV to talk about Nkrumah, and I'd like to highlight some of that research I did. What I wanted to find out, what did Nkrumah mean when he emphasized that Ghana's independence is meaningless unless it's linked to the total liberation of Africa? He declared our independence was meaningless unless it linked up to the total liberation of Africa. What is President Mahama talking about? Does it not encompass what Nkrumah said? Then I broke it down. What did that mean? New African identity. And what did that mean? He spoke of creating a new African personality, an identity, African personality, an identity, stating, we are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, that we are prepared to lay a foundation, our own African personality. What did President Mahama say? Where was he heading for? Is it not an African personality? Have we been able as Africans to stand tall and stand by our continent? Americans, don't they stand by their continent? The British, don't they stand by their island? The Germans, don't they stand by what they have? Look at all the nations in Europe and tell me whether they don't stand by their own. They do. So that is what he meant by African personality. African capability. He proudly declared the new Africa is ready to fight its own battles and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. The UN. What has the UN done really to help Africa in terms of the conflicts we see across the continent? Have they really looked at Africa and said, this is an area, this is a continent we need to pay attention to? No. No. Because why? They've taken us as, don't mind those black people because of color of our body, as if we don't have brains in our heads. But you know that the traffic light was invented by a black man. Do you know the inventions of black people in the world today? But they've been able to create a certain perception that we are just useless. And maybe sometimes we have created that particular scepter for them to now use it against us. You were asking, who should pay the repatriations?
Yes.
What was the slave trade called? Triangular slave trade. Africa, America, Europe. So let's start from there. Let's start from Britain. Let's start from America. And let's see whether they are prepared. Have they not paid the Israelis for whatever happened to them? What about us? And you take a continent like Africa, 1.4 billion people. I hope from President Mahama's speech at the UN, African leaders will begin to gather. Because I remember growing up,
in the early days of independence where Ghana was moving, you could see Jomo Kenyatta and all the others were following him. They were all ready to develop their nations. So the question you then ask is, we are pointing a finger at them. 1, 2, 3 fingers are pointing back at us. What is it that we have done wrong for them to create this kind of narrative for us? And you take a country like Ghana. What's the population? Let's say 33 million people. Is it a country with no natural resources? Take a country like Singapore. What's the population? About 5 million, 6 million people. Are they not first world? And you're saying a country like Ghana, being the center of the earth, equator, Greenwich Meridian, crosses Tema, center of the earth, we cannot add value to these things? I think from that speech President Mahama gave at the UN, it is high time we started looking at what we can do for ourselves. If we have to come out of the UN, let's come out of it. If we have to stop, look, I wish Trump was sitting there. I wish Trump was sitting there, because the way President Mahama carved his speech, you know, if you had any sense in your head, you would know where he was heading for. You would know where he was heading for. And I don't think Trump is any better president than President Mahama. I don't think so. If you were to give America to President Mahama to run, he will run it perfectly. I wonder whether President Trump can run Ghana perfectly. I wonder whether he can run Ghana. And you see, we tend to be scared. And you see, false evidence appearing real. Fear seems to have gathered every African. What are you scared and fearful of? What? What are we scared? Tell me. You as a young man, you just finished law school. You expect from this point on, you can move forward. What is your fear? What is your fear? And sometimes we have created it for ourselves. When parties in our countries are doing wrong and you sit and you talk about it, they chastise you. But you're talking about it because you want the best for your country. Do they not? Look, I don't want to go down the ethnicity line. But take a Caucasian and take an African. Put them on an island where there's plenty of sun. Who will suffer? Who will suffer? It goes to show the African was made in such a way that any weather, anything, we are there. Who built the UK? Who built their underground transportation? Who built the UK that the UK is today? Who? Wasn't it the Africans, the slave trade? America. Who built America? Isn't it the black slaves? But then go to America right now and see how they treat black people. Muhammad Ali decided, I ain't going to fight in no Vietnam. What did they do to him? What did they do to him? So for me, I wanted President Mahama to go a step further and show African leaders how are we going to achieve some of the things that we need to achieve for our continent to stand tall. How? We are a sleeping giant, and we've been a sleeping giant for so long. And you know, I went to an AI conference summit the other day. When I walked in, I think I was one or two of the older people there. The entire room was filled with youth. And some of the things they were talking about and they were doing, you could see that all they needed was opportunity. And sometimes that opportunity is stopped by we, the old ones. We should open up. And when they saw me sitting there, some of them came up to me because they've seen me on TV3. I said, Janto, what are you doing here? I said, I'm coming to learn. At your age? I said, yes. Because at my age, when I'm old and sitting in my room and you come and visit me and you're talking in your AI language, I should be able to understand. So I'm also coming to learn. We have to give the youth the opportunity. And please, the youth, when we give you that opportunity, don't take it for granted. Do something good out of it. Look, and I'll end here. I don't think the poverty that we see in Africa is a poverty that has been bestowed on us. It is us. It is us. And we need to start changing our mindset. Changing our mindset to content, not money. Because if the content is good, the money will come. If the content is bad, forget the money.
Okay.
We need to be able to hold hands. That's why I have been saying on this Galamsey issue, we have to sit collectively as a country, as a nation, to find solutions to it and stop this party thing that we do, because it's not helping anybody.
Okay.
Not until we decide as an African continent to work together and harmonize the natural resources to the benefit of Africa. Let's forget it. The Congo can light up the entire Africa with the kind of water bodies we have in the Congo Basin. Amen.
Thank you very much,
How can you preach and say your own amen?
The congregation will have to say the amen for you, eh?
You have to say amen for the others to say amen. Yes.
Let me come to AB now. And AB, someone says, Usika so wasem so, but this one, Yesika so, so Yasem AI Kesiadudo. They said we should be careful. Do you share the view, or like Doc and Senior were saying, we don't have to be scared?
Let me start by saying that the president's speech yesterday did not only make Ghanaians proud, but also Africans and Pan-Africanists, the world all over, proud. And I'm sure, I am very sure, that late presidents like Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Mugabe, take Nelson Mandela, and who again? Nyerere. Take them.
Sadat.
To some extent, Milton Obote will be happy in their graves. They'll be very happy in their graves. Because these are things they said individually and a topic each. But today, Mahama put all of it together at one sitting. Take the Palestinian question. Mugabe has spoken about it before. And then also, Mandela has spoken about it before. And you know the ties between the ANC and the Palestinian PLO. You know that. Mahama has touched on all of it, which were never said in one forum. That's the unique nature. People don't understand why this is. That's the unique nature of this one. Look, when I watch CNN or the BBC and I see a Palestinian child holding an empty bowl, scrambling for food from aid workers, and I see a Palestinian child with medical gadgets fixed to his nose, and I see the ribs, I don't see a Palestinian child. I see my own child in that person. I, Abraham Alva, sees my own child in that. And I ask the question, how would those parents feel? Because I know I can't stand it. If it were my children, I cannot stand it. So how do those parents feel? I put myself. And the whole notion of we and them, which is non-existent, is what is fueling this. And in our backyard, the same thing. We are Kusasis, we are Mampusis, we are Gonjes, we are that. We are Efutu, we are this. This notion, this notion that we are this and we are that, which is a fake one, it's a fake notion, it doesn't exist, is what is leading us to all these things. So I was happy that he talked about the two-state solution. You live, I live. You live, I also live.
Simple.
Simple. And you see, the problem also is with the African leaders. Some of our leaders are nothing more than village headmen. Some of our African leaders. Now that our president spoke this way, and I'm happy because I didn't know that the Kenyan president also said we should withdraw.
Yes.
That was the way I was going to land today. But I'm happy he has said the Kenya, Ruto has also said that if they don't heed to us, we will withdraw from the union. Instead of us to start galvanizing towards these leaders, today you will find some of them picking phones and calling their European counterparts for validation. Burkina Faso at the back here is doing well. That is a great leader. So we have pockets of leaders who can galvanize us to achieve our aim as Africans. But the few ones are the ones that are not, and I describe them as village headmen. They are not African leaders because they feel comfortable in their small silos. No? What can we do to ensure that our voice is heard and heard loudly? In the past, and he said it, if you see the pictures of Nkrumah, we identified a central point, which is Nkrumah. You will see Nyerere following him. You will see Sadat also following. Nkrumah office, that is a small stick. You can see them gravitating towards Nkrumah. But those village headmen were the ones who truncated Nkrumah's vision. Today, I've heard some people say that we are a non-aligned country, we don't need to stick our neck out. I've heard the MPP people say that.
In fact, the ranking on the Foreign Affairs Committee actually,
Foreign Affairs.
Samuel Abu Jinapo actually addressed the news conference and made that point.
They should shut up their mouths. They are the ones who, when they had a turn to rule this country, were reporting African leaders to America. Did Akufo-Addo go to, is it America or UK?
US.
US.
Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, that some people are there. What stopped you from taking a flight, go to Ouagadougou, sit with the man? Oh, my borders are problematic. What can we do? You go and, like a slave man and a slave master. They have no record. I am telling them, when it comes to these matters, they should shut up and leave us to deal with our important matters. You know, so I think former president, now president, Mahama did extremely well. He set a right tone, and what we can do is to now come back to our own African Union, having sounded this at the United Nations. But you know, he did something too that I think the only person who ever did that was Mugabe. But see, Mugabe was brazen. Our president was calm, but the results are the same. The effect is the same. He told Trump why he refused to give Abbas a visa to come to US for the conference. Which other president could have said that? Now, let's ask ourselves, if you are a host of an international organization, why should you have the right to determine who comes in and who doesn't come in? You are only a host, and the host means that that part of the country is for everybody. United Nations, where the conference is taking place, is for everybody. So you cannot be the one choosing and picking who should come. So if one day America is not happy, they can decide to say that the UN Secretary General, wherever he finds himself, should not come and head the conference. And that's the issue about the difficult arrangement of the structure of the United Nations. That, for me, is unacceptable. You cannot be the one. Because Abbas is not coming to Trump. Abbas is coming for United Nations meeting. Abbas is not coming to meet Trump. So Trump had no right, and I don't think that, and I think the UN should deal with that aspect. Who has the right to invite the leaders for the conference? Should it be the American president, who himself is a participant? Then when can we also say that he shouldn't attend the meeting? At what point can we say that he should attend the meeting? So I think President Mahama hit the nail right on the head. We must applaud him. And the next step, we've heard these things so much, is action. I want to see African leaders. One of the action is what Ruto said. Let's pull out and see whether United Nations will still be United Nations. If 54 African countries pull out, will they call themselves United Nations again?
Okay. You know, I'm watching after the Secretary General's time is up. You know the president that President Mahama was referring to the United Nations? Do you know who it was?
No.
She's called Amina Mohammed.
Oh. When she was talking about the first female
she's my
General.
good friend.
Oh.
She's Nigerian. I'm seeing whether when the current UN Secretary General's time is over,
whether
she'll be given an opportunity.
And you know, when he spoke about when a duck quacks,
yes,
it swims, and that's what it's a duck. Reminds me of Nelson Mandela when he said that we don't care the color of the cat, whether it is black or it is white, so far as it catches mice, that is what we want.
But he also took a swipe at Trump when he talked about all Americans are immigrants.
Yes.
Isn't Trump an immigrant?
I just talk about
Isn't Trump an immigrant?
Yes, Prof, you were taking some notes.
Yes,
1
I
minute.
want to quickly talk about some of the issues. I think most of the issues that my colleagues have talked about, I talked about them when I started. My mother will always ask me, why do they always ask you to speak first? It's kind of funny. One, you know, tribalism and clanism is more dangerous than racism. And we have a situation where people align themselves with their tribes and their clans. So I'm proposing that we have to get a united front, as I said earlier, a united Africa. And if we need a united voice, one voice for Africa to be more powerful, then we need a universal language in Africa. Because America, they all speak one language. Europe, if you go to Germany, that's one language. Africa, we have a lot of languages, plethora of languages that we have. So let's use the next academia, let's use the next 5 to 10 years to develop a single language that is common to most of us. That will help us a lot.
Okay.
Then our currency, the Yoko, our currency was what? What was the ECO?
ECO, yeah.
That never materialized. So the African Union and the way we are doing things, we should step up. When we talk about the future of Africa, yes, but we create our own future.
Okay.
We have to create our own future. And I'm glad that the President Mahama talked about the African leaders who have to create an environment for the youth to thrive. Because if the future is Africa, then I also agree with AB when he talked about the village headsmen.
Yeah.
We have live presidents in Africa. Somebody like Paul Biya, his own daughter is saying that she's ashamed of the father. You know, you've been a president for such a long time that you've become a liability to your own people. Just go and rest at his age so that other people can continue. But he's there. And the daughter said that at your age, you were taking instruction from a French president who is half your age. And I think that the youth are now standing up because they are tired. Okay. We have to, our leaders have to create that opportunity for our own people because the youth have a lot of ideas.
Okay.
And Kwame said it right on point that some of the older folks cannot bridge with the youth. So there's that kind of gap where the youth have all the IT technology ideas, but they are not getting the opportunity. They keep pitching the idea. I've attended many conferences speaking to the youth. They keep pitching ideas, great ideas, what they want to do. Financing is a problem. You know, and then opportunity is a problem. So let's create the little resources that we have. Let's create that opportunity for them. The last thing I want to talk about is the non-aligned movement. The reason why Dr. Vladimir Chidanso was talking about not aligned, we are not aligned to the east or the west. Nkrumah started that. And I'm glad that on his day, I had Ethiopians posting on their social media that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is the best Pan-Africanist they've ever seen. And that is to our plus. So anywhere you go in Africa and say you are a Ghanaian, people know you to be a Pan-Africanist because you are talking about the unity of Africa. And I think that is what President Mahama re-echoed, which is very good. Okay. But not aligning to America or the British or the French is a problem for them because they will have to endorse you to be part of the UN Security Council. And we have to find a way to get in there. Just like the human rights issues, civil rights issues. We should find a way to get in there. And when we get in there, we should use that voice to champion the cause of Africa because nobody will come here and build Africa for us. We will have to build it ourselves.
Okay, about 1 minute.
Yes, I mean,
I think after this, I think African leaders, we should come home and look at the issues that are bedeviling us as a continent.
Do you think we don't know?
Corruption is one of the issues that we have to address as Africans.
Okay.
We need to address the issue of corruption, economic mismanagement. These are critical issues because if we don't position ourselves to be respected, we will not be respected.
Okay.
And I think if we can take advantage of African Continental Free Trade Area, for example, what are we doing as a nation, as a continent? Are we taking advantage of it? Is it going to be something that is going to benefit all of us? If we're able to properly benefit from African Continental Free Trade Area, if we're able to politically come together as a continent, then we can be strong enough then to bargain and to also let the world know that yes, we are also powerful and a force to deal with. Other than that, if you're able to buy our leaders individually and manipulate them, I don't think as a continent we're going to go anywhere.
Senior, 1 minute.
United States of Africa, Kwame Nkrumah talked about it in the early days. The Europeans, the Americans, more the Europeans did divide and rule. So they put borders around us. Nkrumah talked about it, that we are all one. We are one brother and sister. He talked about a united army that could help solve African problems in terms of conflicts. I think it's high time we went back and looked at some of those things Nkrumah talked about. Nkrumah wrote 14 books. Which head of state in Africa has been able to do that? Which head of state in Africa has been able to do that? Let's go back. Let's put that politics aside and let's do things that would help build our nation and most of all, unite us in the country and then unite us as Africans because we need that economic might to be able to face anybody in this world. Now, we shouldn't take it that, because when America is no more there, the Russians will come in. They have their own personal interest.
Okay.
They don't have any personal friends. If we're going to have personal friends, it is us who can create those personal friends, but not them. Look, I was hoping, and I don't know whether it happened, I was hoping that President Mahama's visit, he went with business people. I was hoping. Because see, one thing I find is that when a lot of business people from other parts of the world, especially Europe and America, come into Ghana to want to do business, they don't see their equally matched businessmen. And so it becomes lopsided. Then after a while, they do what? They now talk to their own people here. And by the time you say Jack, everything is gone.
Okay.
So when you look at today, our retail sector, who hold the commanding heights is the foreigners. Retail. And most of us are doing what? Kiosk and tabletop.
Yeah.
These things must stop. We have to start having faith in the Ghanaian and having faith in the African because I know we can do it. The young ones looking at us, they should not think money, money, money. They should think, how do we make our life better by what we learn and the content of what we learn. But when I was growing up, and my father was sitting in a Mercedes-Benz, you could see that Papa Nowaye Juma, he deserves it. Compared to today, totally different.
AB, final word.
There's somebody who wants to bribe me with yams. He says that, and I want to share the yams with all of you. He says that he's a Pan-Africanist, and he's watching me now, and he has goose pimples. So I will be sending some yams to you. So I will share it with all of you. You know.
AB, shared bribe.
That's a bribe, yes.
AB.
So he's not bribing you. He likes what you said, so he's not bribing you.
So you see, we need to understand that as Africans, there's one thing we can continue to do to liberate ourselves and to ensure that our situation changes.
Okay.
That is to say, we should identify leaders who have the gravitas, and when they speak, the rest of the world listens. Use them as champions and see how we can galvanize ourselves to follow them. As we speak now, there are Americans who don't like what Trump is doing. Indeed, I saw a video of 2 Americans who were asked to fly some plane to Palestine with weapons, a lady and a guy. They refused. They were handcuffed, but they refused. So I want to separate the American people from the American government. And when you do that separation, you get to know that it's the American government, as we speak today, which is a problem, and not the American people. The American people have always stood for what is right and have always been on the side of the oppressor.
Okay.
But we have somebody who is an orthodox or is somebody who would normally move away from what everybody does. He is the one who is the problem, and I think that we should separate the two.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's do some messages quickly. This one here from landlord Bolga D-Line. You say that moments like this must remind us that our choice of a president must go beyond local popularity to include international stature and appeal, for it is through such stature that our nation earns respect and secures its rightful place on the global stage. Musa Batwa in Asawase, you say that Lawyer Maliba is spot on. President Mahama's address on the 80th UN General Assembly will go down in history as the second most powerful African speech. Thank you for joining us. My guests have been Abraham Amaliba, Director General National Road Safety Authority, Kwame Janto, a legal practitioner, a member of the Convention People's Party. Ebo Bakman is a senior communicator with the Movement for Change, and Professor Enoch Opoku-Entry is a governance and policy analyst, also joining us this morning. And talk of Prof, let me tell you some good news. Are you looking for a university that will prepare your child for the future? Then it's Academic University, where Prof teaches. It's the best choice for you. At Academic City, we do not just teach, we nurture creators, innovators, and leaders who shape tomorrow's world. We offer undergraduate programs in engineering, computational sciences, business and communication arts, and our BSc in artificial intelligence and robotics engineering are the first and only of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. With world-class facilities and industry-experienced faculty, students do not just learn the latest technology, they actually create it. And for working professionals and young graduates, we have got you covered as well with our MSc programs in cybersecurity and data science analytics, as well as our professional certificate programs that are also available. At Academic City, our programs are practical, relevant, and future-focused. You can get in touch by visiting act.edu.gh for more information, or call on 0262693870, or visit the website like I did indicate. Admissions are open now. Academic City, make your mark. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we have sports, and coming up a bit later, we have that big interview with a Grammy-nominated Ghanaian music icon, Rocky Dawuni. Also, cash out will also be taking place. It's not too late. Just dial the code. You may stand a chance of winning, even though you are joining the train very late. It's a random picking. You get a chance. Stay tuned in.